Welcome. Today we embark on a profound exploration bridging the ancient wisdom of the Tipitaka with the catastrophic, industrialized realities of modern human history, specifically World War I and World War II. When global historians, philosophers, and religious scholars look back at the 20th century, they see unprecedented technological advancement juxtaposed with industrialized slaughter. Decades of scholarship across East and West have increasingly turned toward ancient philosophical frameworks to understand why human civilization repeatedly collapses into total war. Among these, the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, preserved in the Pāḷi Canon, offer an uncompromising diagnostic lens. To the Buddha, war was never an abstract political necessity or a glorious rite of passage. It was the ultimate macrocosmic manifestation of the internal poisons burning within the human heart: lobha, greed, dosa, hatred, and moha, delusion. In the Mahadakkakanda Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, MN 13, the Buddha vividly describes the raw horror of ancient warfare, a description that eerily mirrors the trench warfare of the Somme or the scorched earth of the Second World War. Men take up swords and shields, buckle on bows and quivers, and charge into battle, where they are wounded by arrows and spears, and their heads are cut off by swords, and they are splashed with boiling liquids and crushed under heavy weights. Throughout the Pāḷi Canon, the Buddha maintained a consistent stance: war is a symptom of collective spiritual failure. World-class scholars studying Buddhist ethics note that unlike other religious traditions that developed intricate just war theories, the Pāḷi texts contain no explicit allowance, blessing, or moral justification for war, not even for a strictly defensive conflict. Let us examine what the Pāḷi Canon explicitly states regarding the mindset of those who wage war. In the Yadhajiva Sutta of the Sayutta Nikaya SN 42.3, a professional warrior named Yadhajiva approaches the Buddha and asks about the traditional belief that a warrior killed in combat is reborn in a heavenly realm. The Buddha's response is startlingly direct and shatters romanticized notions of martial glory. The Buddha replies, "When a warrior strives and exerts himself in battle, his mind is previously held captive, infused and misdirected by the thought, 'May these beings be struck down, or slaughtered, or annihilated, or destroyed. May they not exist.' If others then strike him down and slay him while he is thus striving, with the breakup of the body, after death, he is reborn in the hell called the realm of those slain in battle." Global scholars of Buddhism, such as Professor Cakkavatti and various textual analysts, point out that this single discourse completely reframes how we must view state-sanctioned mass violence. Whether it is the trench warfare of World War I or the aerial bombardments of World War II, the underlying mechanics remain identical: millions of individuals mobilized by states to harbor systemic, concentrated thoughts of destruction against fellow human beings. Furthermore, in the famous verses of the Dhammapada, verse 201, which sits within the Khaddaka Nikaya, the Buddha encapsulates the futility of military triumph. Victory breeds enmity. The defeated one sleeps badly. The peaceful one sleeps at ease, having abandoned victory and defeat. Modern historians analyzing the aftermath of World War I, where the punitive Treaty of Versailles sowed the direct seeds of World War II, frequently cite this exact dynamic. The victory of 1918 was structurally bound to breed future enmity. The Pāḷi Canon argues relentlessly that trying to end hatred through greater military force is like trying to extinguish a blazing fire by pouring gasoline upon it. As the 20th century progressed into the mechanized devastation of World War II, culminating in the atomic age, Western and Eastern philosophers began to apply the foundational Buddhist doctrine of Pāļi, dependent origination, to international relations. Dependent origination teaches that nothing exists independently. All phenomena arise in dependence upon multiple interconnected conditions. When applied to global conflicts like World War I and World War II, international scholars of religion note that the doctrine dismantles the simplistic binary of us versus them. Consider how the economic collapse of the 1930s, fueled by global greed, protectionism, and structural inequality, gave rise to fascist regimes. This is a textbook demonstration of Hichu and Pakaya, root causes and supporting conditions. When nations engaged in total war during World War II, they acted out of intense collective delusion, moha, viewing entire populations of other nations not as human beings with families, fears, and hopes, but as subhuman targets to be systematically eliminated. The Buddha addressed this psychological mechanism in the Cakkavatti Sutta, MN 21, through the famous simile of the saw. He instructed his disciples that even if bandits were to saw them apart limb by limb, anyone who harbors a mind of hatred in return has not truly practiced his teaching. While absolute nonviolence of this caliber is intensely challenging for nation-states, contemporary peace scholars argue that the ideal serves as a vital critique of nationalist chauvinism. During World War II, institutional elements of Buddhism in various countries were regrettably co-opted by state nationalism, a historical aberration that modern Buddhist scholars openly critique as a severe departure from the core Dhamma. Pure textual scholarship maintains that any form of nationalism that celebrates the destruction of others violates the first precept. Panattapada Virama Sikpada Samadhyami, I undertake the training rule to abstain from taking life. If the Pāļi Canon rejects war and exposes its karmic futility, what alternative does it offer for governance and global order? In the Cakkavatti Sihanada Sutta of the Daya Nikaya, DN 26, the Buddha outlines the archetype of the Cakkavatti, the righteous world ruler. Crucially, the Pāļi texts note that a true righteous monarch rules Adandina as Athena, without the rod, without the sword. Though the Cakkavatti possesses military forces as a vestige of state structure, actual victory is achieved entirely through righteousness, Dhamma, moral integrity, and the elevation of human welfare. The ruler ensures that poverty is eradicated, because the canon explicitly traces the origin of violence, theft, and warfare back to systemic material deprivation and economic inequality. Global political scientists studying post-World War II frameworks, such as the formation of the United Nations, international human rights declarations, and economic development goals, frequently point out parallel values. True security cannot be achieved through perpetual arms races, but only through cooperative governance, ethical restraint, and addressing the root causes of human suffering. The inner revolution demanded by the Buddha requires shifting our perspective from external conquest to internal mastery. As the Dhammapada, verse 103, declares, though one should conquer 1,000 men in battle, and another conquer himself, yet he is indeed the greatest of conquerors. As we survey the wreckage of the 20th century, and look upon our current modern era, the synthesis between the Pāļi Canon and global scholarly analysis yields a sobering and vital message. World War I and World War II demonstrated the catastrophic heights to which human greed, hatred, and technological genius can climb when divorced from moral restraint. Millions perished because societies fell prey to the illusions of supremacy, tribalism, and vengeance. The Buddha's sermons, preserved across the Daya Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sayutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and Khaddaka Nikaya, stand as an eternal warning and a beacon of hope. They remind us that hatred never ceases by hatred. It ceases only by non-hatred. This is an ancient and eternal law. True security is never found in the total annihilation of an adversary, but in the radical recognition of our shared vulnerability within Sasra. Peace in the world can only emerge when individuals cultivate peace within their own minds, dismantling the inner fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. May the reflections of the ancient Dhamma guide humanity away from the abyss of destruction toward wisdom, compassion, and lasting peace. Thank you for listening.